This is the DJI RONIN 4D, the world's first full-frame 4-axis stabilization cinema camera rig. Now, at a glance, we got raw video capabilities, a wireless focus system, built-in NDs, LiDAR focusing capabilities, long-range video transmission, a wireless transmission and control system. You can break it down to a smaller rig. It has audio jacks, comes in 6K and will be available in 8K. You can switch out the mounts from DL to MN to even E-mount and much more, which we will cover in this video. So I've had this camera for around 2 months at this point. We've been testing it super hard, both on YouTube projects and commercial projects. I have a lot to say. My cinematographer friends have a lot to say and share with you. And we've just been putting it through its paces. Okay, so let's start off with the most obvious and best feature of this camera, in my opinion, is the Z-axis stabilization. Your traditional gimbals typically have roll, tilt, and pan. Well, now we're introducing the Z, the lateral, the up and down movement that a gimbal would normally get rid of. So the goal of this is now you're gonna be able to get super smooth dolly movements because you're getting rid of your footsteps. That's the whole thing with gimbals. You have to do the gimbal walk. Well, now you don't have to do it as hard. So essentially we have 2 sensors here on the front and we have 2 sensors on the bottom. And it also has a built-in IMU and barometer. And then it uses an algorithm to get you super steady movement. That's essentially all those things working together so that when you do dollies in, that you're gonna get the most stabilized and fluid shots. So just like your gimbal, you have a couple different modes that you can put it in. So starting off with the obvious one, you can actually use this camera not with the stabilization. So you can just turn it off and you can actually lock all the different access on the gimbal here. So now you can actually just use the camera like you would use a normal video or cinema camera while you're shooting. But you might want to use some of those features for stabilization. So let's go into some of those different modes here. So when you switch it to follow mode, it breaks off into 3 different modes that you can actually use. So you have pan follow, which means that you have no tilt. So when I'm filming, I'm getting the pan follow there, but if I try to tilt it, it's not gonna tilt. So you got pan follow. Then you can easily move into pan tilt follow. So like if I point it down, it goes down, and essentially you can kind of point the camera and you're getting smooth movement everywhere. You can also dial in how smooth it is in the menu system if you want, like you would a normal gimbal. And then you also have FPV mode. You could kind of do these crazy like FPV shots. And then you have your lock mode. So you can literally place the camera in the one spot that you want, and then it will always lock on that area. So if you go into the menu system, you actually can turn on push pan and you can turn on push tilt. Now, if you haven't used this feature, it literally means you can turn the gimbal to the spot that you want so you can quickly reframe. So on the handle, we have a hotkey. We have this little trigger right here that allows you to lock the gimbal. So while you're doing a movement, you can literally like now press lock, and now it will lock on that subject. And then when you release, it will go back to following pan tilt, whatever mode that you're in. But having that is really nice because it allows you to get more advanced gimbal movements. In terms of the software, there's something called Active Track Pro. So you go on this touchscreen monitor here, you literally highlight your subject, and then it will track and follow your subject as well as keep it in focus. In terms of balancing, it's pretty straightforward. You have toolless options up here to bring the Zenmuse X9 over here forward and back. And then you have one more here on the bottom where you can bring this back and forward. The one thing I did notice is that when you have this LiDAR unit here on the top, it's pretty easy for the gimbal to kind of just fall over if it isn't locked, but it does not impact the actual performance once you actually turn the gimbal on and then the motors are activated. Okay, so one of the things that's actually really nice about this setup is there's an interchangeable mounting system, not just for lenses. You can literally change out what mount that you want to use. So it comes with a proprietary DL mount. You can switch it out to the M mount, and it also allows for E mount, which means that all the Sony users out there can finally use some Sony glass, but it is a bit limited. I have the 24mm G Master lens here that I can actually balance on this setup, but anything that is much bigger will not balance that nicely. But one of the things to keep in mind is that if you do use this camera as a traditional camera, just lock all the axes, doesn't matter. You just lock the gimbal and then you can actually turn it into a normal camera, and then you can use bigger lenses on this setup. Okay, so let's talk about the image quality. So we have a full frame sensor. This is coming out of the Zenmuse X9. I feel like everybody has been waiting for this for the last little while. But most importantly, something that I noticed on this is that it is detachable, which makes me think that potentially in the future, Inspire 3, I cannot confirm or deny that. Nobody at DJI will tell me, but why is it detachable? Why? In terms of the codecs, we got ProRes RAW, we got Apple ProRes, and we got H.264, which can all be recorded internally. This camera has dual native ISO, so this is the 6K version, so it's 805,000 ISO, and then the 8K version that you can also get is 804,000 ISO. Now, in terms of frame rates, the 8K model, they're claiming that it can shoot 75 frames per second, but this 6K unit, and what we've been doing with our tests, is that we can shoot 60 frames per second at 6K, as well as 48 frames per second, and then in 4K, we can shoot 120 frames per second. Now, because this is a cinema camera, everyone's gonna be curious about the dynamic range. Now, DJI is claiming that it is 14 stops of dynamic range, and to prove that, here's a clip of my friend Macy that was shot on a super bright day, and it is shot backlit. I'm just gonna quickly jump in here. So we are currently in the stages of color grading a short film that we shot on this camera. If you guys wanna go check out that video, links are right here. I'll also drop a link in the description below because we spent a lot of time working on that. But I do wanna show you a screenshot from the colorist Kazi, who's also an amazing YouTuber, and this is his first impression on the raw footage out of this camera. This is coming from someone who deals with multiple types of camera formats, who's dealing with color grading all the time, and he is stoked on the footage. It gives you a little insight from a pro there. Okay, now for the internet's favorite topic, color science. In terms of this camera right here, we have the DJI Cinema Color System. Now, here's a quick example of a Sony a7S Mark III right beside the Ronin 4D, so you can see the color science with your own eyes. All the mounts that I was talking about earlier here, we got the M mount, the E mount, as well as the DL mount, all allow for wireless lens control and autofocusing, and it even works with the E mount glass. So here's an example with an E mount G Master lens mounted to it, so we can control the f-stop, and we can even control the autofocusing as well. So one of the best features of this cinema camera is that it has 9 stops of built-in physical ND. So we're gonna go from ND2 all the way up to ND512. And it's so easy to switch the ND just by pressing some of the hotkeys here. Okay, so during this entire review, you might have noticed this monitor chilling here on the side. One of the best parts about this entire system is that it's built-in wireless video transmission. So this little unit right here communicates with this monitor. Okay, I'm just gonna call it out. I've said best feature a few times, but this next part like actually blew my mind the first time I saw it. So check this out. You can literally take off the handles and then connect them to the monitor. And I know what you're thinking right now. Does it control it? Does it control it? It controls the camera, and you can pick the movement, and you can also pull focus. You can also change all the settings on the camera here. You can go into the NDs, and you can press record. This right here is the new DJI High Bright remote monitor. So it's a 7-inch monitor. It is also super bright. We're talking 1500 nits. And the reason why this is beneficial is that you can give this to a client so they can review your shots while you are shooting and composing them. Saves you time in post-production. You can give this to an AC so they can control and pull focus, so you have more coordination while you're on set. It's also got all the features that an AC would want. So you have like Rec 709, you can load your own looks. You can also go in and we can turn on LiDAR. You can turn on your zebra stripes here. You can do waveforms, false color, peak focusing, change the color that you want. And then the last thing that's really nice, especially when you're shooting and or with the monitors, you can just press this little hotkey here and you can position the joysticks to your liking. Now, in terms of the wireless transmission range and the control of the camera, DJI is claiming that it's 20,000 feet or 6 kilometers. Now, this is most likely in an ideal scenario where you're probably like in a field. Now, DJI is also claiming that you get a 1080p signal with 60 frames per second as your output and your wireless transmission. So essentially you can have 3 total monitors that have control functions. So 1 on the camera and 2 additional. Also, an additional monitor can then also be used in audience mode. So moving on to the focusing system, we've talked a lot about this LiDAR attachment here, but one of the coolest features here, this is the Zenmuse X9 focus motor that you can attach to the front. And when the focus motor and the LiDAR work together, you can turn manual lenses into autofocus lenses. So if you go into your menu, you can turn on LiDAR waveform. And while you're shooting, you have the option to see all the different focus points on the side, so it makes it a bit easier to focus. But my favorite part in terms terms of that system is that when you highlight your subject, it will highlight it green on the waveform. So then essentially you can just follow the color to make sure that you're actually nailing the focus. Now in terms of the autofocus, there's a mode called automated manual focus mode, which is a combination between autofocus and the ability to have manual focus at the exact same time. So to show you this, here's an example of Phil. So the autofocus is working right now. It is locked on Phil's face, but as you can see, I can actually start to pull by just rotating the focus knob here and pull to the Red Bull logo. But then if I literally let go of that focus wheel, it will actually automatically go back and you can see it in real time. So that's very helpful in terms of being a one-man band when shooting. Okay, so moving on to some of the last important details. In terms of storage, you can actually use a CF Express Type B, but right now we actually have the DJI Pro SSD. And what I really like about this is that when you're shooting onto the SSD, you can literally use a USB Type-C, plug it directly into your computer and start reviewing all the footage and even edit off of it. So this is awesome. All right, so in terms of the battery system, we have the DJI TB50s. These are the exact batteries they use on the Inspire 2 right now, which is an awesome move by DJI because if they had their own proprietary battery, it's just one of those things where you're like, now I gotta buy like 10 other batteries. Like if you already own an Inspire 2, you might just have the batteries with you. So that's like really nice. Plus these batteries kick ass. They are awesome. You get about 2.5 hours of shooting time. They charge in 1 hour. And they also have this whole like heat system where they recognize if it's cold and they start to auto heat so you get better performance. Okay, so in terms of audio, you got two built-in microphones that allow for 24-bit audio recording. In terms of some of the ports that are available, you've got a 3.5 millimeter jack right there and a headphone jack. And it also allows for XLRs with the expansion plate on the back. Okay, so final thoughts on the Ronin 4D. In my personal opinion, the best part about this camera after using it for so long is the workflow and the ecosystem. Now, typically if I wanted something like this, I would have to buy a gimbal, a camera, a lens, a wireless focus motor, a wireless focus monitor, another monitor for my client, and then I would have to try to make all of that work together. And all those are usually made by different companies that are not talking to each other. So there's usually a lot of compatibility issues. So you spend hours troubleshooting. The fact that DJI makes all of this themselves and it just works is the best part about this camera. If you guys like this review, please press like. It actually makes a difference. Subscribe and hit the bell to be notified for future videos, and we will catch you guys in the next one. And to answer this comment from a few weeks ago, I will bring the cat outros back. Let's see what Bear thinks of the camera. And she's also gotten so much bigger since the last time you guys have seen her. 1 second. Here we go to the outro. Okay, Bear. This is the Ronin 4D. Look, wait, this is fun. You'll like this. It'll be like a friend. It'll be like you had a little friend here. Hello? Hello. It's saying hi. It's saying hi. It's sniffing you. Is that all it gets? 4 seconds of attention. What about the monitor? Look, it's 1500 nits. 1500 nits. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Aw, thanks for staying.